welcome back to Red Bunker Minis, guys. Today we've got a Warhammer 40,000 game, match play, 2,000 points between my friend Dan and Aaron, who is also one of our partners at Roll with Advantage. Now, what we've got is a little bit of a narrative. With Chaos Fate Weaver is heading north of the Great Rift, trying to disturb Imperial supply lines and gain some land for the Chaos God of Tzeentch. And Commander Dante, being the main Imperial presence up there, has managed to put a small strike force together to repel these horrible demons back. So what we're going to do is we're now going to go over the board. My two colleagues are going to go through their armies and they're going to talk a little bit about their secondaries. So here you go, pass over to them.
Okay, so thanks for the introduction. I am Aaron from Roll with Advantage. I am going to be in charge of Tzeentch today. I am going to try and manifest and change this land. Leading the helm is going to be Chaos Fate Weaver. So I'm going to go through the list. So I have the man himself, Chaos Fate Weaver. Next to him, partner in crime, is a Lord of Change. Now I've gave him a -1 to hit, a -1 to wound, and he can shrug any damage to a 0 once per phase. It's going to be very tough to crack. We have a Flux Master. He's just going to zip around the board trying to be a nuisance. As we move over to the little pink Gribblies, I'm going to have 2 units of 10 that will hopefully be splitting throughout the game. And we have an Exalted Flamer on Burning Chariot. Further back, I've got 3 units of 10 Blue Horrors. Again, they're just going to be a general nuisance and hopefully start splitting into those tiny little brims. We've got 3 units of Flamers. They're going to be 2 units of 6, 1 unit of 3. And then finally, back here, I have 9 Screamers who are going to be my fast attack and try and get into the enemy lines, try and block some of that shooting from the very start. So for secondaries, I decided to go for Psychic Interrogation, purely because my Flux Master is going to be able to cast that relatively easy. And knowing what my opponent has now got, that should be a surefire 15 points, but we'll see how that goes. Next one is Assassination, purely again because I know my opponent's got a lot of characters. And then finally, the one that is an auto choose for all demon players, or should be, is Reality Rebels. Literally just take any of the quadrants I can, take the centre of the board, and hopefully rack up those points. So, we're going to see how that goes, and we'll put you over to Dan and his army.
Hi there, my name's Daniel. I'm playing the Blood Angels today to try and thrash Aaron's filthy, demonic blend. I have taken a very quick assault-based list to make the most of the bonuses inherent to playing Blood Angels. Things like Savage Echoes as part of our Super Doctrine, and trying to make the most out of very fast units like things like Jump Hacks, Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, and so on and so forth. If we want to have a look-see down here.
Yeah.
So, I have 2 squads of Assault Marines. Somewhat old, these models, a relic of a time when I first got into the hobby, but hopefully quite useful in their number of attacks against fairly weak Tzeentch models.
Definitely.
Death Company for a similar sort of purpose, but rippier and tearier, which is always a good thing when you're playing Blood Angels. A number of Assault Terminator squads, again playing to the Blood Angel strength, but giving me some useful deep strike ability that also gives me 2 up armor saves for when I want to fight things with a little more pizzazz, like big monsters. And then coming up to things like my Sanguinary Guard, which will benefit from proximity to my warlords, to other characters. They're quite shooty, quite fast, very good in melee, and quite hard to kill, so I'm hoping they will be a linchpin unit. And then for characters, I've taken a fairly heavy character list. I've taken Lord Commander Dante, there in the middle, who gives a lot of bonuses to the Blood Angels in the list, plus Lamates to boost my Death Company units, a Sanguinary Priest with Jump Hack in red there to apply a Assault Doctrine bonus to my army even when I'm not in the Assault Doctrine, the Chaplain there at the back to provide some extra litanies, and Sanguinary Ancients to provide some extra utility in terms of things like the chapter banner bonus.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff.
My secondary targets, secondary objectives are things like assassination, because that will allow me to kill more of these guys, hopefully, and get more VPs and things like a Horde Witchwood. Raise banners, because that's a generic useful one that I can hopefully get on a lot of objectives with my mobility. And the Blood Angel's unique secondary Relentless Assault, which gives me benefits and VPs for being in the deployment zone, which I'm hoping to be anyway, because I'm in close combat army. Yeah, hopefully that's everything.
Great stuff, great stuff. So, with that said, we're going to get onto the deploy, and we'll get back to you at the beginning of the first turn before we start moving any models. Right then, guys, everyone's deployed. I just thought I'd take it for the mission and the different terrain pieces we have on the battlefield. So the mission is Data Scry Salvage. It's a 6 objective mission. The primary is to hold 2, 3 or more, and the built-in primary or progressive primary is one where you have to carry out an action on your objective marker in your home deployment zone at the end of your movement phase, and then at the end of your turn you then get a point for each objective marker that you own in no man's land, up to a maximum of 3. And what we've got here is a couple of buildings scattered around the battlefield. All the actual buildings here, and here are all going to be obscuring, and the usual keywords that come with ruined buildings. In the middle here, we've actually got some pipelines as well, just with the idea that if people wanted to get some units onto these 2 objectives here, then they are protected a little bit. But apart from that, the only other keyword we really need to worry about is the ruined walls we have over here, here, and here, which is going to give a -1 to hit if you're shooting at 3. So yeah, with that all said and done, we're going to move on to the first turn, and we're going to come back to you at the end. Oh, one thing's first as well, before we get started, we're going to put the roll up on camera so we can find out who's going to go first.
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to be using this fancy little red dice.
Yeah, go for it.
Dan's going to use a lovely purple dice. Let's do it straight in the centre.
Default purple.
Lovely. 2 for me.
Nice.
2, we go again.
2, roll off again, guys. Dan's got this thing about using fresh
3.
dice all the time.
Oh, Dan.
3, come on.
So this video is going to be about 2 hours long, purely based on rolls. 5. 4. I'm going to be taking first turn for Tzeentch.
So, Aaron takes first turn 1. Anything else to say before we get started? Any plans or anything like that?
Other than Imperium can get in the bin. But other than that, no. I'll see you at the end of battle round 1.
Excellent, excellent. Right, we'll see you at the end of turn 1. Right then, at the end of turn 1, you can see things are looking a lot different to how they were at the beginning. Blood Angels have essentially moved at the board extremely quickly and got into the face of the enemy, and unfortunately, as a result of that, Aaron has lost quite a lot of models. The objective control is now pretty much in Dan's hands, but Aaron did manage to get quite a few points before Dan had the chance to move up onto the no man's land objectives. We'll speak to them individually now and see how they feel about how things have gone and how they think the next turns are going to pan out. So first of all, we'll go over to Larry.
Yeah, so I think at the moment it's working as I thought it would, but maybe how much damage I actually took was a bit more than I anticipated. I have pulled ahead on turn 1. I have gained 9 points, and Dan unfortunately has 0 at the moment, but he has set up the bases ready to go. I think this next turn is going to be a bit more pivotal. I'm going to try and push over into, maybe snipe those characters out. And yeah, I'm not feeling too confident anymore.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Do you want to take us through your secondaries, how that works out last time?
Yeah, so the secondaries I'd taken was Reality Rebels. So you have to take, have more units, have the same or more units of Demons as there are the opponent in each quarter. So I managed to get 3 of those, or a unit within, and a unit within 6 inches of the centre, but I didn't do that. So I got 3 points for that. The other one I got was Psychic Interrogation. That's why I took the Fluxmaster. He did exactly what I needed to do. Found an enemy character, got into his mind and scored me 3 points. And then finally I did the action on my home objective. And at the time, I had 3 objectives which gave me 3 points. Obviously that doesn't look like that anymore. Yeah, so that's how it is.
Great stuff, great stuff. Well, we'll go over to Dan now and see how he thinks things went, and he can talk us through his secondary points. Right then, Dan. So Aaron's already talked us through how he feels the turn went for himself. Would you like to take us through your opinions on it, what you think you're going to do the next turn, and how your secondary objectives panned out in the first turn?
Yeah, I think it's going quite well thus far. I've been very, very fortunate with some of Aaron's unlucky rolls, in things like the Exalted Flamer, who I presumed was going to thrash that squad over the Sword Marines, but I knew the interrupt was coming, so there wasn't a lot I could do about that, and I decided to take them because I didn't want these guys getting chopped to bits, because those damage 2 Screamers, if they've got to strike first, would have done them some real harm. So I'm happy with that, how that turned out. Generally, I think it's going well. All the buffs from my various characters have sort of stacked together quite nicely. They're all working in harmony. My characters have become a little isolated, which I'm a little worried about, but that's okay, because if they do get shot, then it's not them doing the actual killing, it's the units that are doing the actual killing. So that's a double-edged sword, and we can only hope for the best there. In terms of how my secondaries are going, I was unfortunate to not get the first turn, because I think, as Alan's pointed out, whoever got first turn, these being very fast armies, would get to jump on and immediately claim 3 VPs from the mission secondary. So I was unfortunate there, but that's the hand we're dealt. And all I can do now is hope to clear them and begin reeling in some of those points now as the turns go on, because invariably Blood Angels, turn 1 and turn 2, when they're not in the assault doctrine and don't have ways around it, which I thankfully do, it can be an uphill struggle sometimes. So I'm hoping that as the game goes on and we get into more of a phases where my inherent assault bonuses become more and more active, and I have to worry less about activating them with my Sanguinary Priest, hopefully they will sort of come into their own more, and I have to worry less about my characters and more about board control.
Great stuff, great stuff. So where do you stand with your secondaries after the first turn?
My secondaries at the moment have not really been brought in yet, because my secondaries are Relentless Assault, which is deep striking in units into the opponent's
0 on that
zone, which isn't having happened yet because it's only the first turn just passed. Hopefully my Terminators will be able to change that, but we shall see.
You've managed to raise a banner on this.
I have raised a banner over there because there was no point doing the mission secondary with none of my objectives currently held, because I couldn't have predicted that would definitely happen. So I've took the reasonable presumption that I can raise banners there. I know Aaron doesn't have anything in Deep Strike really, so that should be a fairly safe 5 points at the back there that I can rely on just from one action, which can then be left. The Assassinate option is for this chap, and the Fluxmaster over there. Obviously, it being turn 1, I haven't had a chance to I've had to get through some of the chaff first, but hopefully we'll start looking at that with some of the deep striking Terminators, perhaps. Yeah, we shall see. I have to see how that goes, because great Daemons are no joke.
Great stuff. We'll see how turn 2 pans out. Hopefully, it will work out for you.
Fingers crossed.
Right then, guys, we'll see you at the end of turn 2. Right then, guys, at the end of turn 2, a lot of things have changed. There's been a lot of moving around. It was a teleportation, wasn't it, Aaron?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, Chaos moved, teleported over here. And that's a lot. In terms of movement, what else happened?
So I essentially just kind of, in true horror form, was just take myself out of combat from the Blood Angels, spread myself out, which means I was able to take those 2 points, this point and this point. At my turn, Kairos went over there. He managed to kill
Sanguinary
Priest, who was basically holding the objective in the back, but I went over there, managed to get that charge off and killed him in combat. The end of the turn felt really good. It felt like, I think I've got this now. I'm pushing back, I'm getting these objectives. and I feel like I'm going to be a real trouble for him. That wasn't until Dan had his turn.
Yeah, everything started to go south a bit, didn't it, at that point?
I'm back on the back pedal. I'll let him describe the victories.
Essentially, what has occurred is, despite Aaron's frankly excellent screening, stopping me deploying in any of his sort of backfield or backline, I found a tiny little gap here and sort of in the mouth of this building to deep strike in 2 5-man squads of assault terminators, and I dropped another squad over here to deal with Kairos and sort of tie him up as the game goes on. I also moved my chaplain from within this building here to give the reroll benefit to charges from the icon of the angel to the terminators in case they need it, because the odds of making an 8-inch charge are not ideal, and if you can boost them, you want to be doing that.
It's 8 inches because you've got that +1, I believe.
Yeah, so I have to deploy 9 inches labour, I get +1 for being Blood Angels. But anything you can do to improve that, especially with an aura ability of reroll charges, so that's what I've done with that. Here I basically manoeuvred to take out the units of horrors that were tying down these objectives, so these guys moved onto the objective more fully and got ready to charge in. These guys and the Death Company originally did the same, but with the threat of Kairos up here, I've moved the Death Company over here. The Martes went off to deal with the individual character here, the Fluxmaster. So these guys
didn't last very long.
These guys can reliably hold this point and this point and start scoring points, which I'm desperately in need of. The Martes got me the assassination because he's tasty in combat. Unfortunately, my Sanguinary Guard and Dante remained locked, but Dante did manage to kill the Screamer, so he is now free, but he's on his own in enemy territory with no protection, so we shall have to see how he...
And you've got all these down here to respond with, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, we'll see how it goes. Dan, do you just want to quickly run us through where you stand with secondaries at the moment?
The secondaries at the moment, I managed the Assault Terminators that dropped in. Frankly, everyone made their charges. By some miracle, I don't think I rolled anything lower than an 8 for all my charges, which is exactly what I need as a minimum, as a Blood Angel. So, everyone over here charged Kairos and did some damage. He charged in perfectly fine. These guys all charged in perfectly fine. The 2 units of Assault Terminators, which were the riskiest of options, both managed to make their charges without even needing a reroll and killed Aaron's Warlord over there, essentially ripping out his backfield.
Ripping out the heart, Daniel.
Ripping out his heart.
Ripping out the heart.
Beating into a pulp with some judicious use of the Fury of the First stratagem to get
now...
it to overlook that -1 to hit from Thunderhammers.
Yeah.
And so because he's killed the 2 units, one of which being the Warlord, he's got assassination, which gives him 7 points.
Yes, that's the assassination.
And the other one, which is because he's now in the deployment zone over here. 2 units, isn't it?
I now have 2 units in Aaron's deployment zone. He only has the 1 in mine, and that is what I require to achieve 4 victory points for the Blood Angel specific secondary.
Cool.
Great stuff, thank you. And As, can you just quickly run over where you stand with secondaries?
Okay, so my secondaries, I'm going to grab the box, it's just easier. So I've got Reality Rebels, which is picking up points for the quarters and the centre.
Yep.
I'm on 7 out of the 15 so far. So I'm confident I'll
3 turns left.
I'm confident I'll still get the full allocation of that. Assassination, as Darren pointed out, his other 3 characters now are just left out in the open. I've got the Trusty Flamers. So I'm thinking points-wise, I'm just going to go and deal with those.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Psychic Interrogation. Now, that was why I bought the Fluxmaster, but with him dead, it is not worth me giving up Kairos' spells to do that because, well, I need the spells to cast mortal wounds.
So what have you got on it so far?
I've got 6, and I'm pretty sure it's going to stay at 6.
Okay.
So that's that. I'm winning at the moment. But I feel like this is going to change going
Could
forward.
turn around quite quickly. We'll see what turn 3 brings.
Yes. Yeah.
Right then, so at the end of the game, we decided to call it a day at the end of turn 3, didn't we?
We did, yes.
Just things were taking too long, and me and Aaron were both under the phone. So we've got to be home by 6:30.
Yeah, for stop that.
But yeah, so actually a really close game from my perspective, watching it on the sidelines. What do you guys think?
It was a very tight game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
a massively tight game. I feel like there was a lot of back and forth all the way through, but points-wise, I was pulling away. The first 2, maybe to turn 3. I think at that point though, in true Tzeentch form, I just ran out of steam. There was no more to be pushed forward. You still had what? A load of things left.
I still had the better part of a squad and a half of Assault Marines. I had a fair few. I had 2 full squads of untouched Terminators
Exactly,
in
yeah.
the backfield.
And I had no way of dealing with them.
No.
Yeah, I had flamers, but when you come up against real vulnerable saves, it was a case of me leaving them alone. So we mapped out in our mind, and you started basically pulling away then on points, doing the actions. And I think you played it fantastically. So the game actually ended up with 63 points to me, but Daniel's the victor with 69 points, so congratulations.
Nice.
I think it's really good as well because he's not a massive tournament player. He loves to play fluffy.
I think this was his first proper competitive tournament.
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
This
And
is
it worked
normally
very
a list. This was a little bit inspired by the chap who just won the LVO,
Yeah.
using
Big props to him.
a lot of Blood Angels assault units. I didn't want to quite go that way because not being a tournament player, I'm not big into the whole spamming lots of the same units things. But I think generally speaking, it works pretty well. I would say.
Yeah. And you definitely enjoyed it more than you
use
thought.
Terminator. I was surprised at how nice it is to just use regular firstborn Terminators.
Yeah.
No Primaris, no shenanigans, nothing. Just the same Blood Angels
Keeping it
models
old
I've
school.
had for the better part of what 15 years.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I think given
models.
my list, I'm still happy. I've got 1 win, I've got 1 loss.
Yeah.
Both against decent competitive lists. I don't think
Two very different armies.
exactly. So I've got one that is all shooting, single Tau. Tzeentch obviously fared very well like that, except for getting slapped by fire warriors. That wasn't nice. However, then I've come up against a full melee army, and obviously Tzeentch fails at that side. So it's nice to get a broad aspect. So I'm hopefully going to come up against somebody who's a mixed bag of both, potentially like Necrons. See how that goes. And yeah, we'll see. Is there any changes you'd make in your army?
I think I would, as we were discussing a little bit earlier, I'd probably have combat squadded more units.
Yeah, get
because
those
I was
actions out,
struggling
yeah.
to get actions done because units were getting tied down in things, and keeping them in big blobs of 10, although great for the number of attacks, meant that I wasn't having, is it economy of action, I believe it's the correct term, where you have more units to do more things.
Yeah,
So
that's-
that it quickly becomes a challenge of
Definitely.
attack or
Yeah, I think that's.
do I
I think your
do
list was
action?
definitely solid. It was more just early tactics, maybe.
Yeah,
Could have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
That's could have changed a little bit. I also think probably put a bit too much into my characters. I was relying a little bit much on characters.
Yeah,
5 characters is quite a lot.
5 characters is quite
it was
a
easy
lot.
for assassination. I maxed that out.
And
So,
the Sanguinary Priest was useful for the first turn with the Doctrine Savage Echoes.
Yeah.
But the Sanguinary Ancient didn't really contribute much. The Chaplain was useful. Lamartes and Dante did okay.
Yeah,
So
I think overall you
Not
could probably
bad.
shorten
I
a
could
few
have
things out.
probably lost.
Some anti-tank.
I could have probably lost the Sanguinary Ancients, but he's one of my favourite models ever, so
Is a
really
beautiful
cool.
model. Okay.
So yeah, no, really good game, really good bunch of guys, and it seems like we all kind of walked away with something. Definitely not going to be the first one, but a report that you're going to see on our channel. First of many to come, hopefully, and hopefully you'll see these 2 beautiful faces a lot more as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.
Later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.